I literally remember my life changing when I started watching self-improvement YouTube videos, right? And I significantly remember the sort of impact it had on myself. Right? I was there just sitting in my bed one day, and then this 17-year-old dude who is wearing a mask and glasses, he comes on my feed, and I'm like, okay, I want to watch this video because it was a video on how to have a good morning routine, something related to morning routine. And I watched it, and it changed my life because it changed my way of thinking. Right? It kind of programmed me because I started waking up earlier, and I started developing these cute little habits. These not cute, but really nice habits, like just drinking caffeine, consuming caffeine, journaling, writing down your thoughts, creating content. All of this, I started developing these habits as a result of being programmed by another YouTube video. And so, understand that programming is the most significant thing in your life when you're trying to reach from point A to point B, because you want to be constantly be able to change your beliefs and thoughts and the way you have been programmed. And trust me, if you listen to me, I think I genuinely can help you change the way you program yourself and change the way you let programming from other external sources affect you. Okay, so the first step to understanding how exactly you can program yourself to go from point A to point B, to go from skinny to fit, to go from noob to pro, yeah, beta to alpha. What you want to be doing is you need to understand how programming works. And to give you the best example, when you were born, you were not affected by programming at all, because you were inside of your mom, right? You were inside of your mother, and you were just there, like nothing, no external sources, no internal sources, because you couldn't even think for yourself. It was all just on unconscious behavior. You were doing things unconsciously, or maybe consciously, but I'm not specific in the details. But there was really just no programming. But once you came out of your mom, right, your mother, and when you started growing up, your mom started programming certain things inside of you. So when she, whenever you hear your mom saying, "Oh, you should eat your veggies, you should eat carrots, you should have fruits, you should be praying, and you should wake up early, sleep on time, make good friends." Your parents, these things, these words, they're programming beliefs inside of you. And so understand that programming has always been a part of your life. You just weren't so aware of it, right? You just weren't very aware of what was happening to you. And in order to truly understand this, right? Let's say you're a student. Let's say there is a guy called, let me think of a name. Kido. Is Kido a good name? Kai. Yeah, Kai. So let's say there's a guy called Kai. Now this Kai guy, he wants to be at the top of his class, but he's always been one of those average nobodies. Well, what should he be doing? Now Kai, he's a smart guy. So what he does, whenever he comes home, he starts, just analyzing things. He starts researching things. And that was me, by the way. I researched a bunch of things, and I came across this information using which you can really just reprogram yourself. And Kai was a smart guy. He knew this as well. So what he found was that in his previous years, the years where he had been an average nobody, a loser, what he had basically been doing is that whenever he came home, he used to tell himself, "Oh, I'm a guy who watches Netflix when I come back from home. Oh, I'm a guy who I procrastinate." He used to say these things to himself, right? He now understood that he was actually programming himself. So whenever you say things to yourself, you're actually kind of programming yourself. Whenever you say, "Oh, I feel like eating a bag of chips. Oh yeah, I eat ice cream after dinner," you're programming yourself You're telling yourself, you're changing your belief, you're setting a belief in stone that you eat ice cream after dinner. Once Guy realized this, what he did was that he started setting the right beliefs in stone. He started telling himself, oh, right after he came from school, oh, well, that's the TV. There's Netflix in that. But I'm just a guy who doesn't watch Netflix. I'm just a guy who doesn't really like watching TV. But I do like studying. Actually, I like sitting down and working hard. I'm a guy who really likes solving previous year papers so that I can do good, so that I can get good grades. Now Kai has started programming himself, and he started putting the right beliefs in stone. And once he's been doing that, what happens is that, he has understood the game. And since he has understood the game, he's little by little, he starts seeing changes. And so this is the way you can program yourself. You can start telling yourself things despite not being them, right? You can tell yourself, I want to be X, or you can say that I am X. I already am. Because wanting to be and assuming that you already are two separate things. Wanting is just a desire. Am is an identity. You don't want desire, you want identity. Because in order to get from point A to point B, desire won't get you from point A to point B. Identity will get you from point A to point B. And so, tell yourself things. Like, let's say you're an entrepreneur, you want to get started with online business, you want to start making money, you want to get more disciplined, you want to become more hardworking, more focused, more diligent, so that you can just show up every single day, so that you can do the tasks that are required every single day. Well, you start programming yourself. You start telling yourself, oh, well, I'm a guy who comes back from college and I do deep work for 2 hours. I'm a guy who sleeps on time every single day, 7 days of the week. Right? And now this is step number 1, because this, listen to me, very, very important. This is very, very important. Because once you do this step 1, once you start establishing an identity, all of this is amazing, honestly amazing, but it won't work if you don't apply the second step. Because if you don't apply this second step, there's literally no point of telling yourself that, oh, I am. I mean, there might be some advantages, but you really want to be focusing on what your objective over here is, which is to change your identity, which is to change your programming to align with that of a successful person, of a person who has achieved the dream outcome that you're looking for. And so step number 1 is assuming that you are a certain somebody. It's a certain somebody that you want to be. And then step 2 is proving it to yourself with small wins. Because proving it to yourself makes the programming permanent, makes the beliefs permanent. You want to see, the eye believes what it sees, right? The power of the eye, it is magnificent, right? Because when a man controls a lion in the circus, he looks him straight in the eyes, and the lion is only in control till he keeps his eye contact. The second the guy loses eye contact with the lion goes on to attack the guy. He grabs him from his jaw and rips his neck off. But if he keeps his eye contact, if the lion believes that this guy can hurt me when he looks in his eyes, then that belief is set in stone. And so you want to be able to prove to yourself with small wins that you are the guy who you're assuming to be, that you actually are programmed in this certain way. Prove it to yourself. Now I'll give you an example to make this much easier. You want to start being able to wake up early, right? How do you do that? Well, you start by sleeping on time. How do you sleep on time? You start programming yourself, telling yourself, okay, I'm just a guy who sleeps at latest by 11 in a 5-minute window. I sleep latest by 11. Oh yeah, I'm just a guy who sleeps early. Oh yeah, I'm just a guy who switches off my devices right after dinner. and just reads and just does some normal activities. And what you can do, you just start proving it to yourself. You switch off your device. That same day that you told yourself that I'm a guy who does this, I'm a guy who sleeps early, and you try sleeping a bit earlier than what you used to sleep. You start, or maybe you just read 5 pages before you go to bed. Today, it could be today, tomorrow, whenever it is. These are small proofs that really just set the programming in stone. And this is how you can just genuinely start programming yourself in order to achieve your dream outcome, in order to achieve the dream physique, the dream state of discipline, the dream state of willpower, the money, the spirituality, whatever it is. Assume that you're the person. Assume that you already have the identity and prove it to yourself with small wins. And that, my friend, is how you start programming yourself. So yeah, this is how you program yourself. I hope you find this useful, and you're welcome.